And finally, let's talk about marketing pitfalls, not the Indiana Jones swinging on the vine, marketing pitfalls. Now, every job has its pitfalls, and we all do our best to avoid them. Marketing is no different. What's a pitfall that you do your best to avoid, and what's your strategy to avoid them? Now, you work with a variety of clients across a variety of campaigns every day, Ian, being a project manager. What's a pitfall that you do your best to avoid, and what's the strategy when you see it coming or you got to get out of it?
Sure. I think a big pitfall is not setting clear and measurable goals before a project or a campaign begins. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a new product or a new service or a new campaign, and thinking that others will just be excited about it as well, sort of thing. But you really need to, at the outset, set out, what does success look like? How are we going to measure this? Are we setting up all the right tools so that we can measure it accurately? And using all the data you can, not letting your gut decide, oh, it's a bit lower than I expected. You know, you've got the data there, work out why things are going well or why things aren't going as well as you maybe anticipated. So yes, absolutely. Data. Use it, set up your goals so that you know exactly what you want the end result to be, and take things from there. You know, the answers are in the numbers.
Yeah, and to your point, like, decide on what success looks like. When you're sitting down at the end of a campaign, I want to see this. I want to see, a sales number that looks like this, or we generated X number of leads, or we had this many people come to an event. What is when I'm sitting down at the end of the day, what's that result that would make you happy? Figure that out. And now we start working backwards to determine what do we need to do to get to the end. And that's where, to your point, tools and data come into play, and setting it up like that. For me, I do a lot of strategy work. And I think when it comes to pitfalls when creating a marketing strategy, the idea of keeping your eye on the prize is something that, you stray off of that and you fall to into one of these pitfalls. It's not getting derailed by things that might be happening out there, like a new tool shows up on a Friday afternoon and you're working on your strategy the following week. And it's like, I need to switch my whole strategy over to now. This looks cool. I found this shiny new object. I need to go over here. Keep your eye on the prize, identify the goals and the, what a success look like you mentioned. That's the strategy that I'm building towards. If a tool or a strategy or something else comes along that you think might work into it, then let's consider it. But don't start straying because of what other people are doing or other tools, etc., appear in the marketplace, because you'll never ultimately build a good strategy. I mean, there's fundamentals that no matter what, considering your audience first and et cetera, things like that, those aren't never going to change. Those are kind of what you build your strategy on, those foundational pieces. And then you figure out what else might need to happen to build out that strategy. But yeah, it can be hard as you're building one out and you see this shiny new object or you read this article and, you want to use it to consider it anyways, but you don't want to alter your whole strategy to all of a sudden follow this over here. So test things out first. You want to make sure that they're tried and true before you start working them into a marketing strategy. So that's my big one. Yeah. You had one other one, right?
I was going to say, I think having realistic expectations as well is another thing to bear in mind, particularly when it comes to things which are more of slow burn projects, whether it's starting a new social media channel or getting into SEO, organic SEO and things like that. I think, it's easy to look for great results really quickly, and that
quick wins.
Platforms kind of work. If you set up a new YouTube channel, you're just not going to get 5 million views in your first 6 weeks. It's just not going to happen. Similar with SEO, if you're on the second page of the search engine results and you want to get to the number 1 or number 2 slot, that's not going to happen in 6 or 8 weeks. It's one of those things that you continue to work on over the long haul, and it's a slow process, but you might see results after a year or a year and a half, or you just keep working at it. So I guess have realistic expectations and don't give up on things too quickly if you aren't seeing the results you want right away.
unless it's Threads, because Ian hates Threads. Yeah. But that's an excellent point, Ian, because you're right. People always want the quick win. And we talk a lot about digital being, we can do things really quickly. It doesn't mean there's going to be an immediate impact. When I speak and to different groups, I've got a slide that I use all the time where it's kind of like a matrix. It's got 3 columns. On the one side, it's the immediate impact column, and that's where advertising comes in. Like realistically, if you needed to get 500 people to your website this afternoon, you could do it through Google ads, Facebook ads, whatever the case may be. You could do it. It's going to cost you money, but realistically it could happen. And then on the other side, the long tail approach, that's where, as you talked about, search engine optimization, creating content, laying the foundational pieces for your marketing. That's where those lie, where you're not going to see immediate results, but over time you start to build on that foundation and you build a more comprehensive marketing strategy and marketing footprint. When Duncan and I started our golf website that we chatted about a few episodes ago, I remember writing on that golf website for months, 5 days a week for like 2 or 3 months before we saw our first visitor through Google Analytics, somebody from Finland who, if they didn't speak English, wouldn't even know what we were writing about. But you think about how long that took to create the content, create the website, get indexed by Google, and then show up high enough somewhere for whatever term it was that somebody actually saw it, clicked on it, and came to the website. That wasn't a 3-day, 1-week process. That was months and months and months. Now, because we built that foundation properly, one visitor led to 1,000, led to 10,000, led to 100,000, and million, and so on, because you built it from the foundation up. So, if you're looking for quick wins, which, can exist, but they're definitely on the paid side, consider that. But a good marketing strategy or campaign probably has a little of column A, a little of column B, and then right down the middle of that is where you see social media. To your point, if you're just starting a social channel, probably not going to see immediate impact. If you've got some established social media channels, maybe you would see a little bit of immediate impact, but at the same time, you're still building towards that long tail approach too. So that kind of falls down the middle. So a little of A, a little of B, a little of C is probably a good way to think about it. But yeah, you're right. Like if a client has come to us and they need results immediately, there's certain things we can do, but you still need to temper expectations where we can start to work to get you web traffic tomorrow. But keep in mind, if you totally ignore the foundational pieces, when your ad budget runs out and you put all your eggs over in that basket, there's nothing else going on, you're going to just fall right off the map again because no one knows who you are. So by spreading it across multiple things, you might not see as much immediate as you're looking for, but you're building it the right way.
Absolutely.
So that's all I have to say about that.